Hello everyone. Welcome to day 30 of 365 Days Live with New. I am coming to you live for the 30th day in a row. I can't believe it. From my patio. And it's a beautiful day, and if you are joining me live, let me know in the comments. If you're catching the replay, welcome back. And today I have something really special to share, really raw and vulnerable, but very needed. And if I feel like if I need it, then I know that someone else out there needs it as well. So as you are watching this, let me know in the comments, say hi, and yeah, let's just get straight to it. So today's topic is about anger. So just to be really transparent, I have been experiencing a lot of anger recently, and it is an emotion that I feel is shamed by society a lot, and especially shamed when women are angry. So anger alone already has a bad negative stigma, a negative connotation around it. And if you add being a woman on top of that, like that just like makes it even more worse. So that is usually the bias, is that, oh, like as a woman, as a good girl or a polite lady, you should not be angry. And I've definitely had that conditioning my whole life, seeing it, whether it be in the news, whether it be in movies, TV shows. It's all around us. We are seeping and swimming in those waters that tell us that it's not okay to be angry and not okay to express your anger. And that's just to give a little context, but I want to share with you why this is even the topic for today. So I woke up this morning and I did a breath work. And if you are on my email list, I just sent out an email with the story and as well as the link to the video, the breathwork video that I am sharing, but I'll also share it here. So I woke up this morning and I did a breath work with as part of one of the programs that I'm in. We did a live breathwork session. And if you've never heard me talk about breathwork, or if you don't know what breathwork is, there are different types of breathwork. The breathwork that I'm talking about is it's the one where you breathe in. It's a 3-part breath, and you breathe in through your mouth twice, and then you exhale through the mouth once. So you breathe in into your stomach, and then into your chest, and then out your mouth. So that is the type of breath work that I'm talking about. It is a lot more stimulating. It is going to change the I don't really know how to explain it, but like it changes, you're intaking a lot of carbon dioxide, and that somehow changes the physiology of your body, and it allows you to really tap into your subconscious and really be in your body. So that's a really general explanation of it. There are you can find out a lot more online, but that is the breathwork that I did, and we lay down on our backs. That is the preferable way to do it. And there's music, and then we have a facilitator that leads us and guides us through the breathwork session. And so usually we set an intention at the beginning of the breathwork session, and this session was going to be our last one. So what happened was it was all to integrate everything that we've learned. And so I was really open to really whatever was coming up for me, or whatever was going to come up. And I was going through it, and it was like halfway through the breathwork session that I didn't feel anything. I was just focusing on my breath and doing the 3-part breath, because it is, at the beginning, it's hard to consciously breathe. It's work. That's why it's called breath work. So I was consciously breathing in through my mouth and filling up my belly, and then bringing it up into my chest and then out my mouth. And it was more like probably like 60% of the way in. excuse me, that I started, because the facilitator would have us stop at certain points. Oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. Sometimes burping could be, I don't know, if you're spiritual, that burping while sharing something could mean something. If it does, let me know, because I feel like I've been better at it in the past, but like at the really beginning of my lives, I was burping like every live, so it's coming back, I guess. But let me go back. Yeah, so the facilitator would tell us like, hey, like when I count to 3, we are going to let out a vocal release. Whatever comes out. And so I did release when like a vocal release when she facilitated it, and that was when I felt the anger, and I was like, oh wow, like, you know, and it wasn't like very surprising, because like I shared at the beginning, I have been dealing with a lot of anger recently, and I would be triggered really easily and into anger these past couple weeks. And so it came up again this morning in my breathwork session, and I allowed it. You know, it wasn't hurting anyone, so I just ooh, there's a hummingbird. That reminds me, I want to put up our hummingbird feeder. Totally getting distracted. Yeah, I released, I yelled, I screamed, I grunted, I cried, and I just let it out. And then towards the end, you know, the facilitator was guiding us to like tell ourselves that it's safe to feel, it's safe to be in our bodies, it's safe to feel these feelings. And it was just very beautiful, because there's so much permission there when you are allowed to feel your feelings and not be made to feel wrong for feeling what you're feeling, right? And so towards the end, we were guided to say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you, which is the 4 phrases of the Ho'oponopono forgiveness meditation or forgiveness work. And I did that as well, and I realized there's a lot of forgiving myself in that, as I was saying those words, like forgiving all parts of myself that was angry, and forgiving myself for hurting the people around me that I did when I was angry, and when I didn't know how to process or channel that anger. And so it just made me realize that it's such a hard journey to, like, we're such complex beings that it's like the hurt that I've experienced in the past, if it gets triggered again, because I was hurt in the past, I wasn't allowed to express my anger, and therefore it was stored up. And now I feel like the anger has pent up, and the anger wants to come out. And when it does come out, it hurts the people around me, or maybe I take things too far, and then there's a layer of shame and a layer of guilt on top of that. And there's already so many layers beneath that. So when we compound emotions, it makes it a lot harder to forgive ourselves, right? And so I had to, and I still am, sitting with myself and allowing myself grace, and for learning to forgive and accept those hurt parts of me, because it doesn't help if me myself don't accept and don't forgive myself for the past versions of me, right? If I can't forgive myself, it doesn't matter who forgives me, because that's the most important work, is the work that you do to forgive yourself and to accept all parts of you. And I say this because I know I'm living it. I've lived it. It's so hard, especially if you're someone who is hard on yourself and who strives for that perfection, because if you're not perfect, that endangers you in a sense, because like I've shared in the previous live, I'm not sure what day it was, but perfectionism can be a form of trauma response. It can be a trauma response because when we are not perfect, we are not loved, and so that puts us in danger. So I feel like I have grown up trying to be perfect because that was my way of receiving and feeling worthy, and feeling like I was worthy of love and affection and acceptance. And so I really took that on. So where was I going with that? But yeah, so learning to accept and forgive yourself for all those things is definitely a journey. So if you are struggling with that, I feel you. I know what it's like. I'm going through it myself, of really just stepping into the highest version of myself and loving and forgiving past versions of myself, as well as accepting those versions of me, those shadow sides that come up sometimes, right? Because if I shame those parts, well, then when you shame them, you store them and you keep them in the shadows, and they feel a certain way about being kept in the shadows and being shamed. And so that's what I mean when I say we are such multidimensional, complex beings, because we have so many parts of us, and it just depends on how we treat all those parts of us. And so and then after that, what was interesting was I when I got out of bed after I did the breathwork session, I actually got an email from one of the nervous system teachers that I follow, and her email was about anger. And I was like, oh my God, how divine of a timing is this, that I am experiencing and working through anger, and I get an email about anger. And so I watched her her talk on anger, and I wanted to share this with you, because what she shared is that when we were little, when we're not allowed to share or express our anger, it is like not allowing ourselves to express ourselves. And it's like putting a lid on water that's boiling, when you can just open the lid and let it release, and it'll be over and done, and it'll be a lot healthier for the child. And so she was talking about little kids, and when they're angry, or maybe when they start hitting their mom, right, instead of shutting them down, use that as view that as, oh, that is a way of them expressing how they are feeling, and through their body, and the energy wants to move through. And the beautiful part about the story she shared is that when the mom learned that, and her kid was hitting her, instead of getting angry and shutting the kid down, she took that energy and embraced that energy, and in a way used the little kid, her child's little hands to help her hit her chest, and in a more playful way. And it allowed the kid to realize, oh, it's okay, I'm allowed to express this, and it ended a lot faster. And those kind of occurrences happen less, because the child is not shamed or wronged for feeling angry and expressing the child's emotions. So I think that's just so important, because it made me realize, hey, I never got that, and I'm not blaming my parents, right? Because our parents did what they knew with all the resources that they had. But it just brings a lot of awareness of why I have all this anger inside of me. And I'm an adult now, but I can't imagine how many instances, how many years of anger and sadness that I have inside of me that has not yet been allowed to be expressed. And I believe that anger is never the real emotion. Anger is usually a protective emotion. So what happens when you are angry is that anger is easier for us to accept in a way, because anger is trying to protect you from something, from a deeper hurt. So if you're angry, look deeper, think deeper of like, okay, why am I angry? Because at underneath the anger, there's always something else. There's always, for me, all the time, or most of the time, it's sadness. It's the sadness and the loneliness that comes with not being heard or understood or feel valued or cared for. And because I feel like that at the core, it turns into anger to protect that soft, vulnerable, sad side of me. So the anger is the more masculine, the more protective part of me that comes out. And so, yeah, so I just wanted to share that, and hoping and knowing that this will help someone out there understand their anger and not shame their anger. Okay, I like lost connection a little bit there. Hopefully it did not like totally exit out, and hopefully I'm still on here. Yeah, I wanted to share that because I don't want you to think that your anger is bad, and I don't want you to continue to hide your anger and hold it inside, because that's not healthy. That's very not healthy, and it can come out in so many destructive ways because it just wants to be felt. It just wants to be seen. It's like a child. All these emotions are meant to move through us, and society has told us to hide certain emotions and not express them in order to be a good girl or a good person or a good boy, whatever it is for you. So I just want to unshame anger and allow you to express and feel that. And of course, there's always a place and a time for you to express your anger. You don't have to express it towards other people. And I am guilty of it myself, of, you know, being angry and like channeling it at the wrong person at the wrong time, right? So you're not going to be perfect at this, especially if this is your first time learning about this, and it can be a little bit scary if you've never done this kind of work before, but take it small steps at a time. And especially if you are able to get therapy, that is going to be also very helpful, because some people do need that really guided support to help you move through these things, because the more anger you're able to release, the more emotions you're able to release, the healthier your body is, the longer you will live, the happier you will be, the lighter you will feel. I just know that because I've moved through so much. I know I still have a lot more, but me compared to 2-3 years ago is so different in the way I feel in my body. And I know that's because I have been able to release emotions that have been stuck inside of me for so long. And one thing that her name's Irene, the nervous system lady, Irene Lyon, I think that's her name. She brought up a really important point about when, you know how there are sometimes those like batting cages where you can go and like just when you're angry you just like hit balls, right? Or if like you go to like a place where you can just yell and scream and punch, like those things are great. But an important thing that she brought up is that you have to be able to consciously connect to what you are angry at in order to actually release it, in order for the body to realize like, hey, like we're targeting this and we're gonna express the anger that's stored here, and then when you hit the ball or when you punch the bag, it actually releases from here, versus just doing it without the connection as to like what you are releasing. It is not as effective. So I thought that was such a good and important piece, because we have to know what anger we are tuning into, so that we can really so that we can locate it and release it, right? I think that just makes so much sense. So I also thought that was such an important piece that she brought into the conversation. So I really appreciated that, and I wanted to pass on that knowledge to you as well. If you are dealing with, whether, even if it's not anger, it could be another emotion, right? It doesn't matter, but all emotions are meant to move through us. Emotions is energy in motion. Like, if you've never heard of that before, think about that. We have emotions, and emotions are meant to move through us. Emotions are energy in motion, and I love that. So that is what I have for you today, for today's live. I know it was a kind of a deep and heavy topic, but I feel like it's needed, and it's definitely what I'm going through, and I want to share it, and I want to take, radical responsibility for my own processing of my own anger, so that, it just shows you. And if I know in the future, when I look back at this video, I will be able to be so proud of this version of me that is taking ownership and realizing my own anger and not compounding the emotions, because the more compounding you do, the more layers there are to peel back and really heal and unravel. So yeah, I hope you found this live helpful. If you think of anybody else who needs to hear this live, then definitely share it with them. Comment their name in the comments so they can watch this as well. And I appreciate you being here and watching, and the more we work on ourselves to really heal and become a better version of ourselves, the more people will benefit from that. But it always starts with you. All right, that is it for today's live. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you tomorrow. All right, bye.